Well, you know, from The Secret. And your fun-loving, lovable host of The Bob Doyle Show. Happens every Friday at noon, right here. Oh, you guys. Thanks. Right here on Facebook, but at a different page. Or you can go to thebobdoyleshow.com. But that's not what we're here to talk about today, is it, ladies and gentlemen? Nope. Wednesdays are all about the law of attraction, and today we have a very special edition. It's a very special Law of Attraction Q&A with Bob Doyle. You remember when everything was special. It's a very special seventh heaven. Okay, so the first thing I have to do is get ready to display your comments. Oops, I went to the wrong place. Get ready to display your comments, so we first make sure I'm broadcasting live, which there I am. So we'll go there. This is just this thing I have to do. Guys, it only takes a second, so just bear with me. And I have to turn down the volume. Every show looks exactly the same. Hello, Jerry. Hello, Ben. Hello, Terry. And hello, Jory. Thank you all for being here. About to make stars out of each and every one of you. Which is exciting in and of itself, isn't it? Oh, come on, go away. And we'll just make sure we've got you. We do. Shortly, guys, when you have something productive to say. No, I'm kidding. So today is special in that normally what we do here is I answer your law of attraction related questions. You just ask them throughout the thing. Hello, Clarence from Haiti, and Sasha. Nice to have you all here. We'll just talk to you for a couple of minutes before we get into the thing. Let people come in and gather around. Good. We got a nice crowd today, and I hope that you share this. This topic it's super important. It's really super important and absolutely life-changing. If you're into the law of attraction, if you want to see results with it, you've got to have this conversation with yourself. So we're going to start about hello, Gomati or Jomati. I can't remember. Adriana. Perry the Crow is here. Thank you, Perry, for showing up. True to your word. He was been asking about when I was going to do this for a long time, and I said when, and here he is. That, my friends, is commitment. You like the outdoor setting, Lynn? Me too. It's breezy. I still would love it if there were like dogs playing in the background, but what are you going to do? Thank you, Elizabeth. It's great to have you here. Okay, and thanks for all of you who are sharing. So, before we get started on this thing, I have got disclaimers out the yin-yang, okay? Because, I know that I shared this broadcast talking about how I eliminated alcohol. And this broadcast is not so much about alcohol in particular. It's about any behavior that you have going in your life that you would like, that is stopping you from getting you to where you want to go, or you at least suspect it. Or if you're not quite clear on what that behavior might be, this is also a process for you. So basically, if you're stuck, stick around. See what I'm saying? Just keep on sticking. Just stick here. But here's the disclaimers. I am not a doctor. I am not a therapist. I am not a psychologist. I am not an addiction counselor or specialist of any kind. I'm a law of attraction guy and a host of an internet show who happens to have been in this law of attraction conversation and been dealing with people and their behaviors for a long time, and particularly in areas where people get stuck with things, particularly in areas of manifestation. So, and I myself am not immune to getting stuck. Hey, Sarah Jane, nice to have you here. Romy is here. Awesome, awesome, awesome. So look, forgive me if I don't acknowledge each of you as you come in once I get started with this, because this is going to be a little bit different. I need this. I really super have to stay focused to get through this and also stay on point. I know a lot of times we do some silly stuff here, and I love that. It's fun to be silly and have some fun with the law of attraction. And if it comes up to be silly here today, great. But this is a topic that has so much potential impact on your life that I want to kind of keep it real, and I want to stay focused on it and get into it as soon as we possibly can. Hello, Amur, I'm guessing. Wow, I don't know how to pronounce all these names. But anyway, it is great to have you all here. And if you're watching this on the replay and couldn't make it, because I know some of you have reached out to me personally and said, I can't make it, it's okay, is there a replay? Of course there is, because number one, you're watching it if you're not here live, so you answered your own question by just being here. But it's a Facebook Live broadcast, and of course they're all saved on Facebook Live. And as I've said many, many times, there's nothing for sale here at the end. This is actually one of those situations where you might actually want something, like a program or some coaching or something to help you with this. I don't have it. Sorry. And hello, Marion. Nice to have you here. Sean is here as well, and Kyle, of course. Excellent. Well, I love it. I love that we have a nice crowd for such a topic. All right. So the other part of this is I have a little bit of trepidation around this, a little bit of anxiety, nerves, or whatever. It's super personal for me. I'm sharing with you a lot about my own personal life, my own personal challenges, what I went through, sharing a relationship with alcohol that I never really talked about before. So, there's a lot of exposure here, but I love and trust all of you. And again, remember that this is not just about alcohol, okay? I just want to keep stressing that. But alcohol is the behavior that I'm using as an example because that was what it was for me. Hello, Tom. Nice to have you here. And Jill is here as well and loving it. And I haven't even started. How great is that? And Nadia is here smiling. Thank you. Thank you all for being here. Okay, so let me just kind of give you the backstory a little bit. So January 2nd of this year, I woke up this was the day after New Year's Day. I should back up and say that the love of my life, Lynn Rose, was back in Vegas doing a show. So I was home here alone. And so I celebrated New Year's Eve alone and New Year's Day by myself and all of that. And so on January 2nd, I woke up and I walked into the kitchen. I'm sorry, let me put it this way. January 1st, I woke up, walked into the kitchen, and there's alcohol bottles out, because it was New Year's Eve, right? And even though I was alone, I still celebrated. So I woke up January 1st, not hungover or anything, but and there's alcohol bottles on the countertop, and I'm going, look at those. And then January 2nd, I woke up, and they were basically empty. And I thought, this is no good. Hello, Angela. This is no good. I have been justifying this behavior for far too long. Now, I love wine. I love a good craft beer. I haven't had them since January, but I'm not anti them, okay? But what I recognized in myself through this process that I'm going to share with you here is exactly what it was costing me to have this fun or to enjoy this particular indulgence, and rationalize doing it as much as I did. Okay. And this is something that we all do about our behaviors that are stopping us if they continue us. So if they continue to stop us from what we're doing. So bear with me and just insert your behavior into wherever I say anything about the relationship with alcohol. Okay. So so I saw that. It's like something has to change. But even then, it wasn't about eliminating alcohol. It was just sort of a reassessment of where I was in my life in relation to what I truly wanted and what my vision was and all of that. I was feeling just like there was stuff just not connecting. There was stuff missing. There were things that I wanted to be a part of my life that weren't there. And so Lynn was gone. I had plenty of time. I'm sitting there on the couch, and I thought, I'm going to work this out right now. So what I did was I picked up this exact piece of cardboard and a pen. I carry this around. It's kind of like Bob Proctor carries around his The Science of Getting Rich book everywhere he goes, because it's like his, he studies it and it helps him. And while I don't carry this around as much as I used to, this was something that I had with me at all times as a reminder. So now when I sat down to do this process, and this is a process that I'm going to share with you, I didn't know what the process was at the beginning. I just started taking all of these steps, and it turned into a process that helped me to reach what I call the click. And so the click is basically the point of no return. It's getting to the mindset where when you make a commitment and a decision, you cannot go back. Okay? We all make promises to ourselves at the beginning of the year, particularly. We make all these resolutions and all of that stuff. I don't have to go down that tired old road. Well, Lisa, I'm sorry you're getting a spin, but yes, you'll be able to watch it later. Well, I got to stop looking at the comments because I got derailed already. So let me just start with what I was sitting there. So I'm sitting on the couch and I'm feeling just disillusioned and disconnected. And so I just said, well, let's get clear by putting on paper what it is that I feel like I'm missing from my life. Now I'm going to share some of this stuff with you, and it's super personal. Hey, Melanie. And I probably won't share every single word I've written on here because, number one, it's not necessary, and number two, it is important, personal rather. But some of the things I wrote down were this. Now, so here's step one of the process. Okay, so and I'll recap this hopefully. But step one of this process, and look, there's so much more stuff. This was originally when I first put this whatever presentation together. I was going to be speaking on stage around this. I had a whole PowerPoint. And when you do PowerPoint, you have to build up the backstory and da-da-da-da-da. And I was just like, I'm not doing that. Just getting right to the point. This is the process. But I will say this first. One of the main points that I drive home in that PowerPoint is that something that we miss as a whole on a big level is the role that self-love and self-care play in the manifestation process. Okay? And this is what this whole thing is about. The behaviors that don't serve you, if you're doing those behaviors, that's an issue with self-love and self-care. You're doing something to yourself that you know doesn't serve you. That's a self-love and self-care issue. Now again, I could go on for 15 minutes about this, but let's just cut right to the logical point. If you don't take care of yourself, if you do things to your body, if you don't sleep enough, if you eat poorly, if you drink to excess, if you put whatever into it, right, that is, it isn't doing any good for your body, right? Now you justify, it's just this, it's just that, it's whatever. We justify like crazy our behavior to fit in socially or whatever, or we can't face the idea of giving up the behavior, right? So we rationalize and re-rationalize. But here's the thing about the law of attraction, guys. Rationalization doesn't work on the universe. When you know the truth about something, the behavior you're doing, that's what you're putting out there. If you're abusing your body, you are telling the universe, I'm not worthy of the greatest there is. Now you have to think about that. If you have a vision for yourself that is filled with love and prosperity and abundance and health and all of those things, which I hope to God they have those things in there, then how does doing the damage to your body fit into there? It does not, right? So whatever rationalizing you're doing around the behavior that you're engaged in that is damaging to your body, your energy level, any of it, clearly you're saying, I don't deserve to feel good. I'm not good enough. And that is the message that you're sending to the universe. So if you're in a situation where you're fine to even rationalize abusing your body in any way, or even if it's not a physical thing, engaging in any behavior that doesn't serve you, that isn't good for you, what are you telling the universe about how much you deserve what you truly want the most passionately? So in fact, the more passionately you want something, the more that issues with self-care and self-love are going to stop it from happening. Because it's the greatest reward. Why would you, if you feel justified in damaging yourself or sabotaging yourself over and over and over again and rationalizing it away, how can you possibly be in alignment with having everything you could possibly want, right? So the basic gist of this whole thing is you can't have this and your vision. That's basically the moral of this whole story. Okay. So the first thing I did, step one, all right, I hope you're taking notes. This is the one Bob Doyle show that I want you to take notes. Is make a list of the things in your life that you want a change in, or that are lacking, whatever, what's missing. What's missing in your life right now? And let me share some of the things that I wrote down, okay? This was the first step before I even thought about what was going to come next. I just wanted clarity on, because this is really super important, being honest and knowing and looking at it and facing it and saying, this is missing. And don't worry about the whole, but I don't want to affirm something negative. Get over yourself and write down what's true. Because it's in there anyway. Whether you verbalize it or not, it doesn't make any difference. If it's a vibration that's in you, it is communicating and it is affecting your ability to have the life you want. So you got to be honest with yourself. Folks, that is the biggest theme ever. Hey, Relena. This is all about brutal honesty. If you're not willing to be honest with yourself, this will not work. So just don't even try. You have to be honest with yourself. And it may mean breaking some paradigms about yourself that you're putting out in the world. Oh, I'm such a positive person. I never think that way. This isn't my issue. If that's what you go around communicating to the world when you know it's not true, now's the time to stop lying about it and be honest. Because you're never you won't be in alignment and things won't show up. You can talk a great game, as so many do. You got to be willing to say, you know what? As much as I know all this stuff, and in my case, teach all this stuff, I'm still lacking in these areas. I need to deal with it. Okay. So, number one on my list that I was missing, peace. Just peace. You know, I live in a post-divorce world right now, still. And there's a lot of turmoil around that. And so it's very easy to feel not peaceful. Okay? So I was lacking peace. I was also lacking vision. Like, vision drives everything, ladies and gentlemen, for the law of attraction. If you don't have a vision that you're living into, I guarantee you're going to be stuck. Because you're just looking at what is or what was. That in no way moves you forward. If your focus is on, I don't know what my vision is, but I just know I don't like this, trust me, you're just going to get more of this because that's what you're focused completely on. So you have to have a vision, and I was clear that I was having a hard time getting one. Okay? Release of shame and guilt. So there's a good personal one. Again, post-divorce, it's, you open yourself up to all sorts of feelings of, feeling guilty or have some shame around it or whatever. So those were there. My health, my overall fitness level, my everything about my health, right? I was feeling overweight. I was overweight. And I wasn't doing anything about it. So in that was meal planning. And then I have other stuff. Periscope strategy at the time. That was, hey, I don't have a Periscope strategy, right? But so I write down everything that I'm missing. So it wasn't just about those internal things or health. It was everything, like, and then eliminate. Wow, this is so freaking personal. I'm not even sure I want to say it, but I'm gonna. Eliminating a fear of money. Now, for someone who teaches abundance and was in The Secret, to admit to having a fear of money on any level is clearly not something easy to do for myself, let alone with all of you. But what happened was, I didn't always have that. I didn't have that during The Secret and all of that. That developed afterward based on things that unfolded in my life that somehow I moved into alignment with. I didn't guard my vibration, or I wasn't paying attention, or whatever. And I went down and all these things happened around money. And I realized after some time that money became a negative conversation for me, which is a real integrity issue for me as a professional, right? And yet at the same time, I knew it wasn't the law of attraction is broken thing. It wasn't like, oh my God, I don't know what I'm talking about. It was like, I know what I'm talking about, and I'm in this right now. Like, I can identify I'm dealing with some sort of fear of money that I haven't been able to get my mitts around with my current strategies, my current release techniques, or whatever. Okay? So, brutally honest, I had to be there, both with me and with you. And I shared that with you because I need you to know how important it is to be that brutally honest. Stuff that you would never tell anybody, you gotta write down here. You have to. Okay? Anyway, so then I started to look at this list, and that was 10 things. I'm sure there were probably more. Laurel, I'm so glad you're here. So that was 10 things, but I started to look at the theme, and what caught my eye, what jumped out at me in all of that was like, of all of these things, what do I think is probably blocking me the most? And I felt at that time I had an intuition, and it could be different for you, and I don't know what it's going to be. But for me, what jumped out was it was around my health. Because I knew, like, remember, I had just woken up a little while ago and saw all these empty alcohol bottles and go, I did that. It's time to face this, right? Now, I want to share also that just 30 days before that, Lynn had read some article or I don't know what, Facebook thing. Somebody brought up a quit alcohol for 30 days challenge. And she said, I'm thinking about doing that. Would you want to? And I was like, no. I was like flat out, no, I am not ready to commit to something like that. Because that's going to bring up all my deprivation issues, all of my stuff, not even about the alcohol. It's going to bring up my other stuff around depriving myself. So no, absolutely not. And ironically, 30 days later, it was gone from my life. Okay, so I had those things and I thought my health. And then I thought, okay, well, of my health, what's probably the most damaging thing I'm doing? Because what I saw was if I felt better, if my health was better, I would probably have a little bit more peace, so on and so forth. I'm going to get into that in detail, okay? Hello, BB. Welcome. Welcome from New Zealand. So I looked at all that stuff and I said, it's got to be the alcohol. That is by far the most damaging thing that is making me, not like myself, not like the way I look, not like the way I feel, take my energy away, all of those things. And it created other things. So I started to play with the idea. Now, this is where we need to insert your behavior in again, okay? Played with the idea of giving up drinking. Like, even in that moment, I'm thinking, well, this isn't going to happen, but let's play with the idea, right? So in your case, it's like whatever it is that's stopping you, whatever behavior it is, contemplating the idea of stopping it, right? Now, you've probably thought about it lots of times. I can tell you for sure, over the years, many years, I've thought, and I'm certainly, in my college days, I woke up with lots of promises to myself about never drinking again, which by 7 o'clock that evening had pretty much been forgotten. One moment, please. So the idea of quitting drinking, at first I thought, all right, well, what about the idea of doing it for 90 days? Right? Like give myself because the whole idea of like stopping it completely, well, forget that. That's not going to happen, right? That was like my mindset. But what would it be like for 90 days? So that was how I approached this. This is just a little aside, okay? So what I thought I would do, now here's what I want to tell you, and I meant to say this at the very beginning. As I go through this, there's a very good chance you're going to go, what? That's it? I came here for that? And let me just tell you that I understand that what I'm about to say to you and tell you to do seems so simple, so ridiculous that you probably would think, well, I'm not doing that because that's not going to work. And that's what's going to cost you the click. Okay? Because even though this process that I'm about to share with you is like something you've done a bazillion times for I don't know how many things in your life, in this case, it's about doing it to a certain point. It's about drilling down until you have the click, okay? So don't discount what I'm about to say because it's a freaking simple process. All I can say to back this up is, I don't know the first time I had a beer, 17 years old, whatever. From 17 till 50, drinking was a part of my life. And in the past few years, wine and all that, it was getting crazy. And I was putting on weight and feeling all the ill effects and the whole thing. And I knew I was out of integrity. So look, the fact that this process that I'm about to share with you got me off of it the same day and I never looked back and I've never had a problem with it should hopefully speak to its power. So do not discount it. I love the fact that you guys are Craig Shoemaker in the house, ladies and gentlemen. Hey, I love the fact that you guys are commenting along with each, and so thank you for not expecting me to engage like I normally do on this one, because as I've already proven several times, every time I look at you guys, I forget what I was talking about. But here's what I decided to do, and here it comes. And by the way, when I spoke on this last, it was at Craig Shoemaker's event. So So what I did was I decided to make a pros and cons list. Now stop, don't run away. Pros and cons. Now what was the pros and cons? The pros and cons list was about the benefits or the downside of not drinking. Okay? Of not drinking. Like, what are the benefits that I will receive from not drinking? Okay? So that's like the pros of not drinking. All right? So obviously, pretty easy list to write. So let me just share some of them with you. Now, again, you're going to want to do this with your thing, whatever it is. Now, as I was writing this list, well, I'll tell you as I read it. Okay, so more clarity, right? More energy for fun and work. You know, alcohol just builds up in your system, and I just was lethargic and so on. I didn't have time. I didn't have the energy to even go do fun stuff. Even the stuff that would have been fun with friends, I was like, all I wanted to do was stay at home, right? And work. With that haze, you don't want to do anything. Maybe for a minute, right? You get that little boost, but then you're just no motivation. And then third, to be more present, right? To be in the moment, because this is where everything happens. And then to have a healthier body every day. So this whole thought in my mind was like, every day I don't drink, my body is repairing itself, right? That's a major pro. Every day I don't put alcohol through my system, it gets to repair. It gets to repair. It gets to repair. It gets healthier every day. No, don't have those empty calories. I would most likely lose weight. More energy to exercise, right? I'm just on number 4 here. Less depression. No guilt about volume of drinking. Save significant money. Be more productive, more creative, greater focus. No more delaying simple tasks because of alcohol. Will no longer be a slave to that habit. Because I definitely felt a slave to it. So it wasn't a physical, like, kind of thing. But I definitely felt like every time I went to the grocery store, I had to buy a bottle of wine. Like I would have felt completely incomplete if I didn't. And I would feel empty and weird and almost panicky at dinner time if there wasn't wine to be had with the thing. And so freedom from that sounded pretty good. So this is a kind of an ancillary one, but Lynn and I would a lot of times order our groceries from a delivery service that's local. It costs way more to do it that way. And the reason that I would be a proponent of that is because I just was unmotivated to leave the house and just go to the freaking grocery store and save probably $30. So we've been to the grocery store. Once I stop this, I think maybe we've ordered, or I've instigated an order from this company twice in the whole year, maybe. Able to stay up longer with Lynn. Lynn is a night owl, right? And I'm not. And alcohol certainly doesn't help that. So being able to stay up later. So, and quite frankly, we'd get into little spats, right? Just alcohol fuels that little, I really want you to hear me kind of thing. And I was ready to get rid of all of that for my life too. Maintain an overall high vibration. Feel better in my clothes. Overall confidence. More and better quality of sleep. Probably live much longer. The feeling of accomplishment every next day. That's that feeling that you get the next day, every day when you wake up and go, I didn't drink yesterday. Right? Now, even though it's not a struggle and I'm not like, I did it another day, I still check in with myself every now and then go, you know what? I'm proud of myself for doing that. I did that. I never thought I would, and yet I did. So here's what happened as a result of making this list. Remember, one of the things I felt like I was missing was a clear vision. And what I realized as I wrote this list of all of those things, being more productive, more creative, blah, 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 I was spelling out my vision. It was being crafted right in front of me just as a result of me going, what would my life be like without alcohol? Can you freaking imagine the aha moment I had? If you haven't, do this process and you'll have it for yourself. So anyway, I went on and on. I mean, the list, right? I mean, how can you, everything's better. when you eliminate behavior that is sabotaging your happiness and success and well-being. Everything's better. So the list could go, I could still be writing this thing. But I wrote it to the point where it was like, all right, I'm clear. Now let's look at the cons. Now this is the real key point here, boys and girls. So if you've wandered off, wander back. And watch the Bob Doyle Show every Friday. Sorry. The cons list. What are the cons of quitting drinking? Okay, not the cons of drinking, the cons of quitting. Because obviously, if you're still doing the behavior, even though you know it's not serving you, you've got a conversation going on inside your head that is giving you a list of cons. Like, here's why you shouldn't quit this. Here's why you can't or won't. Right? This is the list this is where the magic happens. Well, part 2 of the magic. There's magic everywhere. All right, Denise, watch the replay. So here are the cons that I came up with. It's a much shorter list. Cons for quitting drinking. What's the negative of quitting drinking? All right, here's what I come up with. And again, you have to be honest with yourself, and you don't have to like yourself very much at the end of this list, or be proud of those. Be proud that those were your reasons. But the freedom comes here. First one, if I quit drinking, it will be socially limiting and awkward. Okay? Socially limiting and awkward. I won't know how to be if I'm at a party or whatever, and if I'm not drinking and everybody else is, it'll be limiting, right? That was one. I'll have to work through the anxiety, right? Now, these are all the thoughts that came up to me on January 2nd. I'll have to work through that anxiety of like, oh, I want to have that wine, I want to have that beer, I want to have a drink. I'm going to have to work through that. That's going to be hard, right? This is the conversation. Number 3, I will not have that escape. Well, what about when things get really stressful? Things get stressful for me. I need to have, that. What if I can't have that, right? So it's going to be hard, really hard. Okay, this is in the cons list. The cons of not drinking. My mood could be unpredictable, right? Well, if I give up alcohol, I don't know, I could fly off the handle at any moment. I'll miss the taste. I'll miss the opportunity to connect with people. Now, how freaking twisted is that? Now, I'm going to get back to that one in a second. What is true about all of these, every single item on this list? Anyone? Boys, girls? They're all a bunch of crap. That's what's true about them. They're all a bunch of crap, and they're all messages from the ego, which we have believed. Putting them down on this piece of paper allowed me to see them. They sound and feel 100% real when you keep them up in here. Looking at them like this, socially limiting and awkward. Really? Really? It's going to be hard. My mood could be unpredictable. I'll miss the taste. But the one, I'll miss the opportunity to connect with people, as if alcohol was the one thing that I needed to be able to connect with people. That is such an example of how the ego twists up what's true so that you will continue to do a behavior that doesn't serve you. Seeing this, I was like, and so that's 7 things, as opposed to the 26, and then I stopped on the cons list, on the pros list, because that's all I needed. I saw that and I thought every single one of those is a lie. It's a justification. It's the ego screaming, I don't want to change. It's ridiculous. And I almost guarantee you that your list is going to be just the same. Because there is no positive benefit of continuing behavior that doesn't serve you. But you've told yourself there is. You'll be more comfortable. You won't be socially awkward. You'll have an escape. What? Is that who you want to be? So that in that moment, here's what I realized. 90 days, that's BS. Because I know if I say, well, I'll quit it for 90 days, on day 91, like if that's the deal I make with myself, deal 91, you celebrate. Now, I know this from personal experience. I came from the fitness world where I would do these 90-day transformation challenges where I would just get super obsessive, right? Physical transformation challenges, I should say. Losing weight, building muscle, that whole thing. And, alcohol wasn't a part of that at all, and I would click for that, but it was a temporary click. I clicked because I knew my why. At the end of 90 days, I'm going to take these awesome pictures and ta-da, right? But my why only lasted 90 days. My goal was 90 days. This is about my life. So cutting out alcohol, knowing its damaging effects for 90 days is stupid. What kind of help? That's ineffective. And I know myself well, because there's the people who say, well, what if you learn to just drink in moderation? Guys, there are people who can do that, and there are people who can't. That's where I talk about, I'm not an addiction counselor, I'm not a freaking doctor, I'm not here to tell you what your body chemistry will do. I'm not here to guarantee you that this will end your behavior, but I will tell you for sure that you're probably not going to end your behavior on any permanent level until you reach this click. And this has been, in my life, the most effective way to get there. Okay? So in that moment, I said, drinking alcohol, fill in your behavior, is costing me my vision. Think about that. What I realized is I can't have this behavior. This is what I said near the beginning. It was a spoiler alert at the beginning. I can't have this behavior and my vision. I can't have the life I truly want and this in the same life. I can't. So as long as I keep rationalizing this behavior, I'll never have what I want. When you get that, that's when you have the click. But I will say this too, that vision has got to occur to you. You do need to be going toward something. But I'm saying that doing this process helped me. If you're not clear on your vision right now, doing this process of what am I missing right now? What's stopping me? And what would my life be like if I gave up the thing that was stopping me? I believe that your vision will come into even more clarity. And you'll reach that point. Hi, Sandy. Romy, don't say that. Lynn's going to tell me to write a book. She keeps saying it should be everybody's. Okay, enough. I don't want to write that book. Not yet. Just share this just share this show. If I wrote a book, I'd just be elaborating. This is the meat. This process isn't so hard that I need a whole book. Just do it. Just do it. Don't say it's not going to work because just freaking do it. So anyway, I realized at that point, this isn't for 90 days, it's for life. And it's not about moderation for me. It's not about sometimes dipping into that well. It's about, nope, that behavior is gone. So I made that commitment, and something happened. It's like I knew then that I would never have a problem with it. Now, the next week, just as a side story, I was flown to Russia to speak. And when I get flown to Russia, they take very good care of me. They put me in a nice plane, and they put me in a nice room, and they give me access to a lot of fun, free stuff, right? They really take care of me. This year I get to and I'll be honest with you, one of my favorite things about riding first class, wine, right? So, and this time I was like, well, here I am in first class, but I'm drinking warm orange juice. And then I get to the hotel and they say, we're checking in, and they say, your mini bar is included in your room. And I walked in and I'm like, oh, that's ironic, right? Because I'm not going to touch it. And then I get up there, it wasn't a mini bar. It was like a full freaking bar. It was huge. With everything in there that would have normally made me go, oh my God, I'm never leaving. And I'm just looking at it going, there is no part of me that wants this. Because all I had to do was remember that I can't have this and the life I love. I can't have this and feel good. I can't have this and be happy. I can't have this and live into my full potential. I can't have this and my passions. At the very best, I would have a really muddled mix, which is what I've been having. You'll notice that this year, which started on January, as most years do, January 2nd was the year I said, I am no longer doing any of this crap I don't like to do, and I am only focusing on what I love to do. The Bob Doyle Show, these live stream broadcasts, doing voiceover, writing music, my creative stuff. And the stuff that I was getting tired of, the internet marketing of the law of attraction stuff, and that whole sending email to people that they get irritated to receive, I'm done with it. Somebody else can do that. I have no interest. And just allowing myself to give myself that, to say, I'm not going to compromise. I'm not going to rationalize doing crap I don't like. Because if I do, I will always be doing stuff I don't like. Telling myself that that's the way it is and all that. That's the way the real world works. Yes, if you believe that, that's the way the real world will absolutely work for you. I am choosing a different belief. So I am going after what I love because I'll do it the best. I'll stick with it forever. And I'll be the most successful at it ultimately. But I can tell you that eliminating alcohol was a very, very key part of being able to reach that mindset and hang on to it. And to stay motivated. And to also know that I did this. You know, I eradicated this behavior that is a real challenge for people. Now look, guys, again, let me just underscore. There are people who have much more serious issues with alcohol than I clearly did. I thought it was kind of a big deal. I thought where I was pretty bad and it was going to be hard. And it wasn't, because I reached this click. But I think other people probably have a deeper level of dependency, physical or otherwise, than I did, and it might be a lot harder for them. But I will tell you this, the mind is a really super freaking powerful thing. And when you switch on like that, then there's a lot that can happen. A lot of systems can be overridden. I'm not saying they will be, but I am saying that, again, this mindset of you know why you must eliminate whatever the behavior is, you got to have that. Because the second you're tempted, the second your rationalizing brain pops into, well, you can do it now. Anybody would understand why you would do it now. You're done. All it would take is one time for me to have a sip of wine or beer and everything would collapse. The commitment I made to myself, the promise I made to myself, the pride I had in myself, all of it. And I mean pride in a good way. Acknowledging myself for honoring my vision and what's important. If I took even a sip, for me, I have set it up in my head that I have then failed or whatever. And that's fine because that's going to work for me. I'll never have alcohol again. And I say that with so much confidence that I can't even believe it. You know, it's just one of those things that when I think about it, that's not to say that I haven't been at a steak dinner and the first thought is wine would be good or that beer looks good. All I have to do, though, is think about how will I feel on the other side? Like imagine drinking it and tune into that feeling of the sleepiness, the disconnect, the kind of different mindset, the not 100% there, because it only takes one drink to lose your presence, to look at things through a different lens, right? So all I have to do is just check in with that feeling, and I'm going, absolutely not. Nothing is worth that. Nothing is worth that. So when I did this process here, I came up with this little, what's the go-to thought if tempted? So like you reach this point and you have a click. And again, I know I went through it fairly quickly. You have to do this to experience what I'm talking about. You can't hear about it and evaluate whether or not it will work for you. It's one of the irritating things about being in this business is you teach and you know if you do this, folks, it'll work for you. And people just don't do it. I know better. Oh, I've tried that. And they just want the freaking magic bullet that requires them to do nothing. Or read a book and magic happens. Or listen to a meditation and everything is fine. Depending on where you are in your life and how off track you are or how lost you are of your vision or disconnected from your passion, whatever, it may take a little bit more work than listening to a meditation every day. Right? It takes a different level of commitment. For me to have reached this point, I had to do some deep, honest, hard work. This whole process really only took me about 45 minutes. Eliminate basically a lifetime habit that wasn't serving me in 45 minutes. Because I got to the click. Because I was honest with myself. And I looked at it. And I had it look at me and I thought, this little list of ridiculous reasons has been limiting my whole life for the most part. And all I had to do was expose it for the liar that it is, that ego. Oh. So anyway, I came up with these. So if I was tempted, I came up with, I need to have a thought to go to, right? And I do recommend this. For me now, it's what I said. It's how am I going to feel on the other end of the drink? When I first wrote it down, it was like, the thought was, if I was tempted, I would think, my happiness depends on this. I cannot experience true happiness if I am not here. The whole concept of freedom, just the idea of freedom was a go-to thought, because the minute I did that, I'm illustrating a lack of freedom, which is a super important core value for me. And this is required. I have to not do this if my vision is to occur. So those were my motivators at the beginning. But now it's just simply, all I need is to remember that it might taste good for a second, but how I'm going to feel, like I can feel it in my stomach, and it's like a total turnoff. And you know what? If my body or if my mind has exaggerated all that or whatever, great. Whatever the hell works. All I know is I've reached a point of no return that will serve me for the rest of my life. All right. I did ask myself on this deck, and I would say that to get a big piece of paper like this, where you can write all over it and write notes and things like that and draw arrows and, just really kind of do a brain dump on here, because I just wrote random notes all over the place as they occurred to me, and it's super helpful to do that, to get them out of your head and contemplate them and bring them into the whole thing. And I asked this question on paper: can I get to a place of true moderation where the desire to drink is infrequent and appropriate? So it was playing with the idea that, well, maybe I could do it here and there. But I'd already passed the, okay, I'm now being honest with myself line. I'm not going to lie to myself then and go, yeah, I think I could probably do it, because I don't know that at all. I know my past behavior. I know my past patterns. A half a glass of wine was the most maddening thing you could possibly imagine. What? Nope, got to be 2.5 or 3. So I don't see a place for me, knowing me, being honest with myself, for playing around with the moderation thing. I went to Russia. It was almost an insult to not drink their vodka. I had to explain to my interpreter that this was super important to me, and that I've given up alcohol and I will not be joining them in the vodka thing. So. All right, let's see if there's anything else on here. I think that's pretty much it. But the idea, basically, is I fell in love with the idea of not drinking. Instead of it being this heavy, oh my God, how will I ever do this? This is going to be too hard. I fell in love with the idea instead of resisting it, as opposed to 30 days before when Lynn said, can we give it up for 30 days? And I was like, hell no. You can, I'm not. To absolutely falling in love with the idea of not drinking, because this side of the page painted my whole future that I wanted. And I saw how this was impacting it. I'm like, well, that's totally not worth it. All right, now I'm going to, because I'm just going to start repeating myself. Now it's time to address your questions. Craig says, I learned to love water. It's tasty, picks me up, and it's healthy and cheaper than a bottle of Pinot. Yes. I'd love to say I'm drinking a lot more water. I am drinking a lot more coffee. Let's not have that conversation. But yes, there are, the point is that as hard as I thought it was going to be to give it up, it's easy to replace it with something else and get my little jazz. So right now, ginger beer. Somebody gives me a good ginger beer, it's like a fine bottle of wine. I get the same jazz out of it. I get the exact same, oh, this is good, this is going to be fun, the exact same. I used to go to restaurants, guys, and look at people order soft drinks and go, why are they doing that? There's wine here. And now it's either water or if they have ginger beer, that's it. So, now, all right, so Nadia says, what was the next step after finishing the list? How did I get started fulfilling the list? Well, it kind of just starts to happen. As my brain fog went away, I would get more clarity on things. Like, I don't want to do any of this other stuff. I want to do the Bob Doyle show. Yeah, I know. I don't know how it's going to make money. I don't know how it's going to, I have no idea. But I'm going to do it because it's there. It's my passion. And I'm going to do it, right? That clarity came because in the fog, you second guess. You're not clear. It's whatever. So things just started happening. Because look, your vibration changes. When you change the behavior that says, I don't like myself enough to deserve all this, and then you stop that behavior, your vibration changes to allow things to start to happen. So more than me having to do anything, like take a next step, things just started showing up differently and I act on them. Does that make sense? You are welcome, Pinky. Thanks for being here. And yes, Tom James says it like everyone else, but what you resist does persist. There's no question about that. And yes, Jory, this is a process for any limiting behavior. I am using alcohol because it's a pretty extreme one and a lot of people deal with it. And it's the only one I can speak to right now. But yes, but the idea is the same. You're engaged in some type of behavior, or maybe it's a lack of behavior, like you're not exercising or you're whatever. You're not doing things that you should be doing, but that is a behavior as well. Going through this list, going through this process, the pros and cons, getting it deep, and realizing what it's costing you, like it should be a fairly emotional experience. Okay. Thank you, Tom. I appreciate your appreciation. Now I'm scrolling back, as you guys can see, to see what I might have missed. Angela's going to do this after her human development homework. Awesome. Oh, you're more than welcome, Angela. This is more about the writing the book. I know, whatever. Because I just recently announced that my next book project is the whole school system thing, because I have a lot more passion and energy around that. And but I had proposed this book. I had proposed the Click to my publisher, and he said, write up a book proposal, let's do it. And then I lost the juice for it and wanted the school thing. And he said, I don't want to do that. So I don't want anyone telling me that the universe is trying to tell me to do the Click book instead of the other one. I'll judge that for myself. This is my universe we're talking about here. And like I say, I'm fiercely committed to doing only things that, light me up tremendously. I'm just reading. You are more than welcome, Tammy. It's just the way, I've always found, even back in my, before I was doing law of attraction stuff, I was in the physique transformation conversation. It was all about being ridiculously open and transparent, probably against my better judgment. I think I have some sort of reality disconnect where I just share everything for the most part. But I've also found that has been probably the best way for me as a teacher to do what I do, is say, look, I've done this exact thing, or I'm in it right now, or let's get through this together, or whatever. So I appreciate the acknowledgement for the honesty and the transparency. It's just, look at Lynn, still trying to get me to write the book. You could do it in a weekend. Book advance. I could do it in a weekend. All right, look, I'll think about it a little bit more, okay? Could everybody just get off my back? All right, Thomas, you're here pretty late in the game. I'm getting ready to wrap up, but I hope you'll watch the replay. All right, so look, I don't want to just keep scrolling all the way back. If I missed any particular questions, please just ask them again. If there's anything else you want to ask me about here in the last 7 minutes, I'm happy to answer it, but I wanted to share this. You can send me questions after the fact and all that. If I get inundated, I don't know what I'm going to do. But I've tried to be as complete as possible on here, and I promise you, if you just do what I said, and don't try to overcomplicate it, it's a pros and cons list. It's the hardest part about it is being honest, and not be willing to stop telling yourself things that you've been telling yourself if you know deep down they're not true. It's okay. You can make them true. That's the whole point of this. If you've been out in the world saying this and this and this is true about me and how I feel, and you know it's not true, well, let's make it true. And the way to make that true is to eliminate the behavior that makes it not true. So easy. And then you get to live in integrity and be happy and manifest effortlessly and all those wonderful things. Okay. I am so sorry that the weather here today has been cloudy and cool, and it makes me sneeze when the climate changes, so I apologize for that. Brad, you're right. This crowd is a part of my universe. Marion, I'm glad that you were here when you needed to be. And look, if you guys are new to this broadcast, I do this every week. I don't talk about the click every week, but every Wednesday at 12 noon right here, we do this Q&A stuff. Generally, we have a little bit more giggle time with it because I like to have fun here. It is an extension of the Bob Doyle Show, after all, which is pure silliness for the most part. But this is where this is basically the way that I'm talking now about the law of attraction to people. I'm closing down my email. I'm not creating new products. I'm moving all that over to another company, and I'm focusing on virtual reality and the Bob Doyle Show and my voiceover career. So this broadcast every Wednesday at noon is the way that you access me, and we can talk law of attraction. And it's so much better than email anyway, because we're actually talking to each other, you know. So, and I'm not going to sell at you. Okay, so Linda, yeah, you had asked this earlier. Would you please talk about how to get to one's perfect frequency to get what one wants? Okay, so this could be a really long conversation, because if you start thinking about frequency and the physics of frequency, it can get mind-boggling and go on way too long, and it's not necessary. All you have to really do, because we don't have to know this. We don't have to know the ins and outs of the law of attraction scientifically for it to work, unless we are people with brains like mine was, that had too much resistance to just accepting the truth of it and needed all the science. But let me just tell you that the way we move into vibrational alignment with something isn't because we're doing math, you know, or being quantum physicists. It's because we're clear on our vision and we're moving ourselves into alignment with it through visualization and imagination, future pacing, whatever. We move ourselves into alignment with the vision. The vision lights us up. We put ourselves in it through whichever technique we use. We detach from having to have it in a certain way at a certain time, and just bask in the feeling of it. That's what shifts our energy. That's what shifts the vibration, that it brings other things and opportunities into our life. Our whole lens through which we see the world changes. And so we'll see opportunities to take. We'll get ideas that we wouldn't have had otherwise, because we are in alignment with the fulfillment of our vision. That's how we change to the perfect frequency. Have the perfect vision and get into it. Feel it as often as possible. All right, Pinky. Thank you, Tom. Thank you, Misty. Thank you, Jory. And Linda, I hope that was helpful. It's not something. It doesn't need to be overcomplicated. The whole vibration frequency thing. I remember early on people were asking me, like, what's the vibration, or what's the frequency of money, or whatever. How do I stop thinking about that? That's mind-bogglingly complicated. We are natural manifestors. We are built to have the life we love. The only thing that's happened is we've been clogged up with a bunch of limiting beliefs, which not only have an energetic impact, which they do, obviously, but they also they limit our behavior. We won't do things that will take us towards our goal because we have limiting beliefs around the possibility of it. So even if you bypass the whole energy of thoughts and belief system, if that's too much for you, just think about the logic of, if you don't believe you can do it, why the hell would you take action towards it? And therefore, it will not happen. It's duh, right? Okay, so Paul says, drinking isn't what's stopping your focus. It's worry and doubt and habits I shouldn't be doing, and I must change that. Okay, so habits, worry, doubt, yeah. Worry and doubt and fear and all that can also become a behavior. It can become something that we identify ourselves with. And believe you me, mister, Lynn will attest to the fact that I have been there, done that in the post-divorce world. There's a lot to stress about, and it can take you over, you know. But getting alcohol out of my life was something that I could, quote unquote, easily do, that would make all the other stuff easier. Because obviously with alcohol, it's a depressive. If you're feeling depressed, you're going to feel more depressed. If you're feeling angry, you're going to feel more angry, blah, blah, blah. It's a no-brainer. Okay. All right, my friends, and you are that. Thank you for joining me on this very special Bob Doyle Law of Attraction Q&A, where we featured the click, etc. If you came in late, I'd love it if you watched again from the beginning. Share this with people who you know, who you think you could benefit, who could benefit from it. If you have any questions, you can post them right here in this in the comments section. I'll get notified. I'll do my very, very best to answer them. In the meantime, Friday at noon, actually tonight at 6 o'clock, if you go to watch.jennyq.live, I'm the guest on the Jenny Q Show. It's on my timeline somewhere. But then Friday, noon, Facebook.com/Bob Doyle Show. It's more of me, but less LOA. But it's still fun. Trust me. Just ask anybody here, like Belinda, who just walked in at the very end. All right. Everyone have a wonderful day, and I promise I will do the same.